Whether you're a car enthusiast coming to terms with the fact that you might need a crossover, or you already like crossovers and you just like going fast and cornering hard, BMW has the cure for what ails you here with the X5 M Competition, with the plenty of space as well as all the performance bits here for 2024. They have made quite a few updates. As always, I'm going to go through this thing from the outside in, talk about what this thing has been like to live with for the past week. Let's go ahead, take a look. Pop in the hood, no need to deal with a latch under here. It's just a double pull of the latch underneath the driver's seat. Love to see that because I hate digging my fingers in there trying to unlatch the thing. Now, last year we had an S63 motor. It was a 4.4 liter V8 with twin turbos. This one is still a 4.4 liter V8 with twin turbos, but this is the S68 motor, and it's actually a completely new motor. They used it in the X5 M60i, but this is new for the X5 M and the X6 M, and it's going to be a mild hybrid system. So there's a 48 volt battery as well, and that really helps a lot with efficiency. It helps with smoothness, but this is still going to be 617 horsepower, 553 pound-feet of torque if you believe BMW, which you should never do because usually their numbers are higher than that. So I'd love to see a dyno sheet on this. I couldn't find a dyno sheet for the stock version of this, but hopefully one will come out soon. I'd love to see what the actual numbers are. And we've still got twin turbos. We've still got an 8-speed automatic transmission. It's going to be a ZF 8-speed, which if you're not familiar with transmissions, ZF makes some of the best automatic transmissions in the business when it comes to traditional torque converter automatics. But this one is going to be tuned differently than the one for last year as well. It's going to be geared differently. Your lower 3 gears are going to be a lot shorter, and then you get some wider upper gears. We'll talk about that again a little bit more during the drive. In terms of fuel economy here, looking 13 city, 18 highway. Not the greatest for fuel economy, but it's a big V8 with twin turbos, and it's got an M in the name, so it's not exactly going for fuel economy here. The first thing I noticed looking at this X5 is this beautiful blue color. This is called Santorini blue and is one of the about 50 individual color options available for the X5. If you're not familiar with BMW speak, an individual color is sort of like a special order color. It'll set you back $5,000, but it does look super nice. There is also a standard blue that looks really great as well, but they have added a few other standard colors that are not going to cost you anything on top of the base price here, including an Isle of Man green. I love that color. But this thing overall, we're looking at about 194 inches. It's going to be on par with a Cayenne, which is probably your main competitor here if you want something sort of sporty and spacious. In that size, it looks big. It is spacious inside, but it's not so big that you have problems parking or maneuvering. I have no problems up here in New England with parking spots. I have no problems with having a sort of small-ish garage being up here in New England where things are a little bit smaller. So no problems there. 117 inches on the wheelbase. And we've got these staggered setup here with the 21s in the front and 22s in the back. Typically, if you get the base with no options, you're going to be on 21s, the base X5 M Competition anyway. Then you're going to be on 21s on the front and on the back. But if you get any of the optional wheels, then you're going to get 21s in the front and 22s in the back. But either way, it's going to be a staggered setup. We've got 3 1535s in the back here, and we've got 2 9535s in the front. And this one here in particular is wrapped in Pirelli All Seasons. These are Pirelli Scorpion All Seasons, but you are usually going to get a summer performance tire like a Michelin Pilot Sport 4S. I believe is going to be your standard for the X5 M Competition, but I am up here in New England in April, so we're sitting on all seasons here. But luckily, these are not run flats, and the ones you get with your summer tires are not going to be run flats either. BMW does use run flats quite often in their lineup, but not if you get the M model here. For the brakes here, we have to have nice big brakes because this is a performance model. So we got 6-piston front brakes here. The M Sport compound, there is no carbon ceramic option here like you would get in an M2, M3, M4. But you get the M Sport compound here, 6-piston standard. You can get them, blue is gonna be your standard color, but you can get red or black as a no cost option. I love the way the red pops with this blue color. Blue over red just looks so good. But these are going to be 15.6-inch rotors and 15-inch rotors in the back for great stopping power. We'll talk about that a little more during the drive though. Now this black stuff all through here, this is part of your shadow line package, and that is going to be standard on the X5 M Competition. If you get one of the other ones that's not an M, then the shadow line is optional depending on which one you're getting, but this is standard for the M Competition here. So black mirrors, black roof rails, black trim all around. You got fake vents for fake air up here with your X5 M on it. We do get power folding mirrors, LED turn signals, blind spot monitoring, heated. It's got the camera in here for the full 360 view. That stuff is all standard as you would expect at this price point in a luxury vehicle. And of course they power fold when you touch to lock and when you touch to unlock. You cannot touch to unlock in the back, cannot touch to lock in the back, only up here in the front. And because this one has the executive package on it, we get the soft closed doors. I love this feature. So if you have children or maybe you just have weak friends, they don't have to close it all the way and it will just close on its own. The front end here, nice looking front end. They didn't go huge with the kidneys. This is updated here for 2024. They sort of changed the kidney shape a little bit, thinned out this shadow line trim around the outside. Again, that shadow line is going to be standard on the X5 M. If you're comparing against the regular X5, you're not going to see these big scoops down here for all this venting for the brakes to cool down those big brakes. Tons of cooling through here. Love to see that. You got your badge. That's going to be new for this year. You got the parking sensors across the front as well as the camera. Again, you expect that at this price point that you get a 360 view, that you get parking sensors at the front. Of course, these lights are new for this year. This whole light design going on. These are great looking lights. I like that sort of arrow thing that they've got going. It's supposed to be like an X motif that they've got going on here. But you get everything that you would expect here. You got LED daytime running lights, you got LED fog lights, you got LED headlights. They're adaptive. They will turn with you as you would expect. You've got auto high beams as well. Really excellent visibility with these at night. No issues there at all. Love all this cooling. They really did a great job with the front end. Again, I'm glad they didn't go with the massive kidneys. They didn't go with those illuminated kidneys like with the XM. Really did a pretty good job here with the front. Back end here, we've got the updated tail lights as well with this sort of X motif going on. LED tail lights, got the logo, of course, the X5 M Competition. Competition is the only way to get the X5 M this year. And everything back here is really what you would expect in a luxury vehicle. You got the rear wiper going on. You got the parking sensors across the bottom. You got the backup cam, again, as part of that 360, as well as the fact that backup cams are just now standard on everything in the US. And we got the big old diffuser, again, because this is a performance version, you expect that big diffuser. And the big old quad exhaust going on. Well, it's one on each side that's split, but we got 4-inch exhaust pipes here. And you can just listen to that engine growl and pop. It sounds so good. And we got kick to open, which I can never get on the first try. And we've even got a little tailgate here. So if you like to go to drive-in movies, if you can find a drive-in movie, you can sit up here, hang out, or you want to eat some ice cream back here, whatever you want to do. Nice little tailgate to sit on there. Tons and tons of space throughout here, as well as an actual spare tire. The floor in the back having a hydraulic lift. Got some tools back here as well. Love to see an actual spare back there. On the sides here, you got you got a 12 volt back here as well. Got access to the wiring on the side here. And we've got a 40-20-40 split on the seats. No way to drop the seats electronically back here, anything like that. I would kind of expect to see that an electronic way to drop those seats down, but there is tons of space, and of course got privacy cover as well. Again, you kind of expect that at this price point. Power close and power close. Now, of course, you don't have to use the kick to open. There is a button under here as well, or you can use the key fob. Nice hefty key. Wish it wasn't gloss black, but it's got a nice design to it, and it does have some good weight to it. Got the button on the side there with your unlock as well as your tailgate, and don't have to worry about an app. If you want remote start, just use the button right there on the key fob. Tap that 3 times, whether you want to warm up the car or you just want to listen to it growl. It'll start right up. From the interior of this X5 here, this definitely feels like luxury. I mean, the merino leather feels excellent. The quality, everything just looks really nice. It feels really nice. Now, this is not actually the standard interior. This is one of the additional options. There are 2 extended merino leather options, which means that like not quite as much stuff has the leather on it. When you get the full merino leather for $3,500, that's when everything really gets the leather, like all over the dash and all over everything, all over the place here. It's also got the carbon fiber trim, which is a no-cost option. There are a couple of different options there that BMW always gives you the choice with, and as always, it's $1,000 extra if you want gloss black. Please don't choose gloss black. I don't know who's paying $1,000 for that. I love the carbon fiber trim here though. There's also a black wood trim that is a no-cost option, but when you're up here at 120 grand, you know, adding $1,000 option isn't exactly going to break the bank. But some of the stuff we've got going on in here, we have the leather wrapped steering wheel. This is heated. We got the nice big carbon fiber paddle shifters here going on. Love to see that. Nice big M buttons here for M mode 1 and M mode 2. You can set up your custom modes through here, have those easily available. Buttons and switches for controlling your infotainment and your gauge cluster. Nice and easy to use here. Got your M logo down here. Got all the stitching for the M with the blue and the red. Love the look of the wheel. Love how functional it is. Everything is laid out well. Works great. The gauge cluster behind here, I don't love this tacked on thing that everybody's doing, but they have kind of thinned this out a little bit. It's got the curved display. It's nice and big. It's clear. It's easy to read, easy to use. I love the coloring on it. I love the way they've laid everything out because it is, you know, it's got a lot of information, but it's not cluttered. BMW does a really good job with that. I just don't love the whole tacked on thing, but everybody is doing that now. And I still can't see the top of the cluster because it's a rectangle behind a circle, but that is always a problem. But there's tons of good information in here, especially if you're somebody that likes to nerd out over the performance stuff that's going on. So simple, clean. I like to leave it on the reduced. It looks really nice. It's really easy to read. Looks great. The heads-up display, standard in the X5 M Competition. Good information, not super cluttered. There's not a whole lot of information in there, but you can adjust that. You can adjust the position. You can adjust what's in there as well. This is the latest iDrive 8 system. There's too much going on in here, honestly. I mean, it works quickly. It works great. There's a lot that you can do in here, but the fact that you have to have a search menu in your iDrive here, just please don't use that while you're driving, because there's a lot going on in here. So if you want to adjust your climate control, you have to do that through here. There are 0 HVAC controls down here outside of your defrosters. This does have the gesture detection, so if you want to just get close to it without touching it, you can like spin your finger around to make the volume go up and down and like do kind of some interesting gestures going on. I'm not really sure I fully understand that. I know Mercedes does that too, but like, why is that any better than just touching? And also you have the control down here. I don't know why anybody would use the gesture controls, but that is something that you can do in there. You know, your seat settings, your heated steering wheel settings are in here. So like I can't even, there's no button for the heated or ventilated seats anywhere. There's no button for the heated steering wheel. You have to do that through the climate menu. That is a little bit frustrating. Doors have the other seat settings. Like, why can't I just have a button for the heated and ventilated seats? Another note about this is that the ventilated seats are not standard despite the price tag here. Feels like at 120 grand, ventilated seats should probably be standard, but the front seats are heated. The rear seats are not heated standard, but because this one has the executive package, it does get the rear heated seats. This one has massage seats because of that executive package, which is just right here on the door. So at least they left that one on the door because I've been using that one a lot. I love the massage function here. The other button here on the door underneath that, next to the memory settings here, there's a 2 here on top of a seat. That one I had to look up. If you hit that 2, then you can use your seat settings now and adjust the passenger seat now. There is tons of adjustability here. It's got the thigh extensions. You can do up, down, back, forward, left. These are great seats. They're nice and comfortable. They're a little bit on the stiff side, but like just stiff enough that they feel like they're holding you in place. They're like not too cushiony, a little bit more sporty. You want it to hold you in place a little bit better. I do wish that the bolsters here were a little bit tighter. They're a little bit loose here. It'd be nice if those were adjustable. Infotainment, we also have Android Auto. We have Apple CarPlay, both standard, wireless. You would expect that, of course, at this price point in a BMW. Those are going to be pumping through a Harman Kardon sound system typically, but if you want to option, $3,400 gets you the Bowers & Wilkins. If you're an audiophile, definitely want the Bowers & Wilkins. Great sound system. You can also adjust all your displays through here. You can adjust your ambient lighting. So the ambient lighting in here is awesome, honestly. I've never been the biggest fan of the ambient lighting. Like Mercedes does a pretty good job with some of the stuff. It looks kind of cool. Like a little bit extra thing that's kind of cool, but I'm not super into it. This one here, they did a great job. They have the lighting is like in the speakers here. They've got it in through the cup holders. They've got it in this trim over here. They've got it in the doors. They've got it in the footwells. When you get the executive package, you get this cool sunroof with LED lights in it. It's called the Sky Lounge LED pano sunroof, and so that lights up at night too with the LED lights. If we didn't have the executive package, you would still get a pano sunroof. It just wouldn't be like the Sky Lounge LED one, but that's it. They did a great job with all of that. It looks really cool here at night, and even like in the door panel here, it kind of lights up, and a full Nalgene fits in there. Underrated feature. Outside of the infotainment here, you know, everything there works well. It's just there's a little bit too much going on, and I wish that some of that was pulled out of here. The cup holders down here are heated and cooled because of the executive package. Always a nice little touch. So if you're going on a long trip, you don't have to worry about your coffee getting too cold or your iced coffee getting too hot. You do have a wireless charger. That is standard though. The heated and cooled cup holders are not, but the wireless charger is. Got a USB-A down here. You got a 12 volt. You got all your alternate controls for the infotainment down here. I wish this wasn't all gloss black. It just is so dusty and fingerprinty. Like, not my favorite here, but with a little touch with the stitching around here for the M on the gear shift. But your auto start stop is down here. Your park assist, your exhaust setting is down here. So if you want to open up the active exhaust, close that to be a little bit quieter. One note about this area down here is that sometimes reaching for the cup holder, I have accidentally hit this knob for the infotainment. It's not something that happens too often, but it is something to keep an eye out for. Open this up, and there's a USB-C. There's a little bit of extra space, and there's a light in there as well. The back seats there, as I mentioned, are heated only because of the executive package. Super comfortable, tons of space. At least for me, I've had no issues. I'm only 5'7", but I think if you're on the taller side, even 6 foot, 6'1", you'd probably be okay as long as you're not like gigantic. So generally speaking, interior, really very, very nice place to be. Very comfortable. Love the ambient lighting. But generally speaking, you know, I do have some issues with some of the stuff in the interior. There's a little bit too much buried in there. I don't love the gloss black. You know, I do think that ventilated seats should be standard. I do think that rear heated seats should be standard at 120 grand. But as optioned, this thing is a very nice place to be. Looks really nice. It's very comfortable. Really did a great job with all of that. And this has been quite the week. We got rain, we got sleet, we got snow. We did have a dry day early on, luckily. So I did get to push this a little bit. I've been daily driving it, city, highway, doing the daily kids at school, dropping kids off at school, all that. But I have gotten to push it some here and there as well in some of the dry weather, luckily. So we'll talk about that first because, you know, it's an M. It's got an M badge. We got the new engine. This thing is quick. It does 0 to 60 in 3.7 seconds, which is crazy for something this big. And something that BMW just has always done well. Well, they've done a lot of things very well, actually. But one of the things they do really well is they make cars that are big and heavy, and yet they still can be pushed and feel very confident. Like, if you are a car enthusiast, you like to throw your cars around a little bit, and it's like a canyon road or even at the track. Probably not taking my X5 to the track, but you absolutely could take this to the track. So they've updated the M Sport differential and the xDrive system. So this is going to be a rear biased system. It's an xDrive is all-wheel drive, but it's going to be rear biased. And if you put it in track mode and you turn off all of the driver's assist stuff, then it will actually be able to be just rear wheel drive. You can turn off the all-wheel drive system, but typically it's going to be all-wheel drive with a rear bias and just get the front wheels involved as needed. So your M Sport differential is like your limited slip differential. It tries to limit slip on one of the wheels, as it says. You can have a different amount of torque going to each of the back wheels in case one of them doesn't have any grip. The system has been updated to just do a little bit better job of sort of applying little bits of braking to each of the back wheels as needed in order to not get the traction management system involved. And the only time I've really gotten any kind of slip, even with all the snow and rain and everything, is like I launched in wet weather, and so I got some slip off the line. But I mean, I'm on all seasons in the rain. So if you're on the stock summer tires in the dry weather, I don't think you're going to have that same issue. And the gearing has been updated here. So the lower 3 gears are nice and short, very aggressive when you're just getting moving, and they'll snap through those gears. And then they'll widen up as you get up into the upper gear. So when you're on the highway, you're still cruising at like 2,000 RPM or something reasonable. You're not like hanging out at 3,500 or something on the highway. But the other thing with that gearing, with the gears being so short, is when you do come to a stop and it's snapping through those last few gears on the downshifts, it can be a little bit aggressive. It can feel a little bit, not clunky, but it's a little bit harsher than you would normally expect when you're stopping, especially with the ZF 8-speed, because it is a traditional torque converter automatic. That's one of the things that those do a lot better than a dual clutch, is when you're in slow traffic, when you're lower down in the gears, it doesn't get so shaky and so juddery. The other thing about slowing down and stopping, the brakes are very good. BMW does a great job with their brakes. They're not like overly boosted, and there are 2 different settings. You can actually adjust the brakes as well, which is sort of an interesting thing. But they're not too grabby, but they're also not too soft, and they're very confident in your braking. Like, I feel like I can brake in a very, very short amount of time. I can brake aggressively if I need to, and I have no issues with that. But if I also want to just brake slowly and nice and ease the brake so my passenger doesn't snap their head back, I can do that as well. So the brakes are very, very good for both daily driving and for aggressive driving. They are really very good. The steering, BMW isn't known for communication in the steering really, but it's nice and direct. It's nice and easy. It does feel confident. And then we've got the paddle shifters here right on the steering wheel, nice and big, nice and easy to use. And if you want to switch gears for yourself, it does respond very quickly. The gear shifts are very snappy. That's something a lot of people would rather have a dual clutch with something that's like sportier, more aggressive car. The ZF 8-speed, I mean, they do such a great job with just a traditional torque converter automatic. I mentioned you can adjust the steering, you can adjust the brake pedal feel, you can adjust the shift points, you can adjust how aggressive the transmission is, you can adjust so much stuff here with your different driving modes. And you got your 2 M modes right here, easily accessible on the steering wheel, so you can set up your custom modes. You can even tell it whether you want it to be manual mode or automatic mode when you put it into that M mode. If you want to put it deep into redline in manual mode, it's not going to interrupt you. It's not going to switch you back into drive mode. It's not going to do anything. If you have it in standard mode, in the S mode, here on the gear shift or in drive mode settings, it's not going to take over for you, which is, I love that they give you that level of control. So really everything about the dynamic driving, like you're driving something that's very big, and you know, if you're coming from smaller sports cars and stuff, you don't expect it to be as good as it is. It is something that, like, as a car enthusiast, I like smaller cars, but if I had to get a crossover, I would be so happy with this, just because BMW just does something magical with these cars when it comes to dynamic driving, when it comes to really pushing them. Now, for the daily driving, this is where my feelings get a little bit more mixed, because at this price point, I feel like this should be loaded out. Now, it does have the adjustable suspension, so you can put it in a softer setting. You can put it in something that's a little bit more livable. If you're on a rough road, it's gonna get rough. It is still a pretty stiff suspension for a crossover here. So, you know, it's not going to ride like a Mercedes. It's not going to ride like a Lexus, even in the comfort mode. But it's a trade-off, because that means that it's going to do a lot better in the corners than a lot of the competition is going to do. It is perfectly livable. It just doesn't necessarily feel like a ride of luxury here. It is very quiet, though, which is kind of surprising. Outside of the engine noise, which you can actually turn down because I think that's pumped in, but outside of the engine, it's actually really quiet. It's doing a very good job of keeping out the tire noise, the road noise, the wind noise, and that's even when it's been like this terrible weather, this wet weather that we've been having. So $120,000, and there's no adaptive cruise control. This has regular cruise control. It has blind spot monitoring, it has rear cross traffic, it has parking sensors, it has a 360 camera, it has regular cruise control. If you want the adaptive cruise control with the lane centering, it's like the active drive assist, I think is what they call it, where it'll keep you centered in the lane and it'll manage your distance as well. And you have to pay extra for the advanced system. That also has like a collision avoidance system as well. You can always turn it off. BMW gives you the option to adjust all your safety systems. And actually, if you go into sport mode, you lose some of your safety systems. If you go into track mode, they all turn off automatically anyway. That just seems like a huge omission. Outside of that, we do have a park assist feature. The park assist feature works very well. I tried it out. It's a little bit slow. The park assist features are always kind of slow. You're gonna make people wait for you in a parking lot. When the park assist, or like when you get into a space, it'll turn on your 360 camera and it'll give you the option to start recording your movements. Or you can pull up the app if you want and like use one of the recorded movements. So if you need to get in and out of a tight parking space, you can record those movements. It's a very interesting feature. I'm not sure how often I would really use that or even trust that system. But if you're somebody that's using that, let me know, because it's an interesting sort of system. So then outside of that, so we've got the mild hybrid system, which is great, both in daily driving and in spirited driving. The mild hybrid is new for this year, and BMW does a great job with the mild hybrid system, because when you pull to a complete stop, the auto start stop system kicks in. But when you want to go, you don't have to wait for it to start back up. You don't have to wait for it to be ready to go, because the electric motor, that 48-volt system, can just get you moving immediately. There's no shudder, there's no waiting, there's no lag of any kind. Just this, even if the whole thing is off, you hit the gas and you are moving immediately. It also helps a lot with lag. When you have twin turbos, you typically have lag, but the mild hybrid system here, the 48-volt, can kick in while you're waiting for the turbos to spool up, so you don't really have that lag. BMW just does such a great job with that system. We've also got the heads-up display here. Heads-up display has your speed limit, your current speed. It will show navigation even if you're using Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. It doesn't have to be the onboard nav for you to show it in the heads-up display. So that's great. It has color behind it. It makes it a little bit easier to see. In general, it's very nice place. There are just a few little things. Like, I wish it rode a little bit better in comfort mode, and I wish it had adaptive cruise and some of these other safety seat systems. I don't want to have the option to turn off the systems if I don't like them. I don't want to have to pay an extra $3,000 on top of a $120,000 car. This one's optioned out to $140,000, and it still doesn't have adaptive cruise. But if you're someone that's a car enthusiast, if you're someone that really likes to throw a car around, or you just like to go fast, this thing does that so very well, much better than you would expect with something this size. BMW is one of the best when it comes to making crossovers do things you didn't think that crossovers would be able to do. This thing is so quick, it handles so well, it's so fun to drive, it sounds excellent, and it's got all your luxury features covered. There are some things here I do take some issue with here at 120 grand plus. A lot of these luxury features that they sort of nickel and dime you on should really be standard. The soft closed doors, the ventilated seats, the rear heated seats, some of this stuff really should be standard at this kind of price point in a luxury level vehicle. If you want to get the base without all of that stuff, it still will drive just as well. So definitely worth checking out if you are a car enthusiast, or if you just like going quick. This thing will do things that you would not expect it to be able to do. Excellent, excellent car. As always, let me know if you have any comments about this car specifically, have any questions, anything that I missed. The like, the share, all the YouTube buttons definitely help me out, and hopefully I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.